Welcome. I'm Larry Olsen, and this is the BrainVault Podcast. Did you know that the thoughts you're thinking right now are shaping the life you'll live tomorrow? Well, in this podcast, we just don't talk about mindset. We decode the blueprint behind behavior, performance, and possibility. This is where science meets real-world strategy, and your brain stops running on autopilot. If you're ready to turn default thinking into intentional living, you're in the right place. Have you ever stopped to think about how much your culture around you or your environment shapes who you become at work and home, and even your own sense of self? Well, today on the BrainVault Podcast, where science meets success, we're diving into that very question with Justin Long, who's an author, podcast host, and hospital administrator at Spring Hill Equine Veterinarian Clinic, which he runs with his wife, Dr. Erica Latcher. Justin is known for creating a culture of mentorship and leadership that has shaped the careers of countless veterinarians. And you know, my listeners, who doesn't love animals? And if you don't, you might want to get onto another podcast right now. But what makes his story so powerful is that his passion for positive culture, mental health, and teamwork was born out of his own struggles with insecurity and toxic environments early in his life. Now he's dedicated to helping young people thrive, both personally and professionally. I'd like to welcome Justin Long to our podcast. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, we're very excited to have you. You know, I've got an opening question for you. Justin, you've talked about how those early struggles ultimately drove you to become a champion for healthy culture. Can you take us back to the moment you realized something had to change?
Oh my goodness. I think for me that moment was when I was 32, February 17th of 2008 is the day everything changed for me. And that's the day that I went to my first AA meeting to try to figure out how to get my drinking under control.
Oh, okay.
At that point, I didn't know what was wrong with my life or why everything was always a train wreck on the inside, but I knew that something had to change and I couldn't keep being miserable anymore. And at that point, my story kind of goes forward and backward at the same time, because the farther I got into sobriety, the more I started to learn who I am and why I do the things I do. And the farther back in time, that story kept going. The more I pulled on that thread, it took me back into the 80s. Okay. And I did not expect any of that when that journey started, but and that journey's still going today. But it took me all the way back to the roots of my life.
How did you get to a point where, because I'm sure it wasn't the first time you questioned your drinking.
Oh, no.
So what was it about that particular point? February, was it 17th, you said?
Yep.
2018, that stands out so strongly for you?
2008. That was,
2008.
Yeah. Well, it seems like 2018 in many ways. In some ways, it was 3 weeks ago. In some ways, it's so long ago, I can't believe it was still the same lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were things about myself that I hated so bad that I just couldn't stand to be in my own skin. And drinking made me feel okay about who I was.
I got you.
And the older I got and the farther I went down that road, the more I hated myself and the less the alcohol worked to balance that out. Alcohol follows the laws of diminishing returns like everything else. And it worked less and less and less over time until it got to the point where I was just as miserable when I was drunk as I was when I was sober. Okay. And that was the breaking point for me, is that alcohol is the only tool that I have to function. And now it's not working anymore. Now what? Yeah. And so I didn't really have, the only choice I felt like I had is I can die or I can do something different. It's not going to keep going like this.
Wow. Wow. And so when you have this, needless to say, it doesn't sound like death was an option.
Well, it was an option. I'm really glad that it didn't go that way.
You didn't take it.
No,
Yeah.
I worked with a guy. I worked with a guy that accepted me for who I was. He had a drinking situation similar to mine, and
Mhm.
I respected him a lot. He was a funny guy. People liked him. All the things I wanted for myself, he seemed to have, but he accepted me. And we used to sit out behind the shop at work and sweat out our hangovers in the morning and commiserate and compare pain notes.
Oh boy.
And he made a joke one day about having to got to do something about this. It's out of control. And I was like, yeah, me too. It's like I'm not ready to go to a meeting or anything, but I got to do something. And I didn't even know what that meant. That was just a line that I heard a stand-up comedian use, right? And so I
Is
was
that right?
just
Yeah.
parroting that.
Okay.
And he said, my friend said, I've been thinking about going to a meeting. And like suddenly everything changed. Like if it was okay for him to consider going to a meeting, then I need to investigate what a meeting is and figure this out.
Yeah.
And I did that. I went home from work that day and I drank my last 3 beers while I was going through the Alcoholics Anonymous website. And I found out that there was a meeting at the church 2 blocks from my house, right down the street. I could walk it in 3 minutes.
Wow.
But I had to wait 3 days until that meeting happened. And so I decided I was not going to drink for those 3 days and go to this meeting and see what I could find out. I didn't have any intention on stopping drinking. I was looking for ways to control my behavior because my MO at that point, at the end of my drinking, was that I would do something stupid while I was drunk, probably in pursuit of sex with somebody who was not my significant other, because in retrospect, I know because that made me feel good for a minute. When someone would accept me and give me attention, I felt okay. And I craved that. I needed that so bad because I didn't get that from myself. I needed that from other people.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I would always be so ashamed of myself that, oh my God, it's not like I'm in a giant city in a pool of strangers. Like this is my friend group that I'm preying on weekend after weekend after weekend. And I would hate myself for that. And it became a constant, whether I did anything or not, I would wake up feeling shame and just disgusted with myself, assuming that I did something to be ashamed about.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get that under control. I wanted to figure out how can I stop that behavior and so that I don't have to be ashamed of myself. Because alcohol was my tool. Like I said, I couldn't fathom the idea of not having that because it was the only thing I'd ever had. And so I went to this AA meeting and there was a group of about 20 people in there. And they sat around in a circle and talked to me about their lives and how they felt about themselves and how drinking wasn't working for them anymore. And up until that point, I had never heard anybody talk about negative feelings about themselves. Like tough guys don't talk about that stuff, right? We don't talk about feelings. We certainly don't talk about negative feelings.
And that's kind of where it's easy to ostracize yourself, thinking that you're the only one that's having these negative feelings.
You bet. Yeah. Comparing your insides to everybody else's outsides, you lose every time. You can't win that game.
No.
But I didn't know that. I had no idea that everybody else was faking the funk and wearing a mask, right? It just didn't occur to me that people are hiding things like that. And so this group of people talked about the stuff that I was feeling, and I felt understood just in a way that I'd never felt that in my life, right?
Wow.
And that was crazy. And so I didn't get any tools for how to not try to have sex with all of my friends' wives, but I did get a feeling of this is a group of people that gets me, and I need to come back and explore this more, right?
I gotcha. Yeah.
And I did, and I kept going. My friend from work went for a little while, and then he decided maybe he wasn't an alcoholic after all, and that that's his journey.
Sure.
but it got me in the door, and
Yeah.
everything slowly began to change at that point. It took a long time to get where I am today from there. That was 17
Yeah.
years ago,
Yeah.
but that was the day that the ship started to turn.
Gotcha. And was Erica a part of your life at that time?
No, thank God.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, what an
No,
understanding woman.
right?
Um,
No,
yeah.
no, no, I was not relationship material at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful that she didn't know me then.
Yeah. Well, we draw towards us that which we feel worthy of.
Mm,
And so had you met someone, that would have been a disaster anyway, because
right.
it would have been just another band-aid for one another's inadequacies, thinking you were going to fulfill one another. So
Yeah.
we know that's a train wreck, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I was
So,
in a relationship with somebody who was very much like me at that point, and for those exact reasons,
okay,
we were
all
both in
right.
the same place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so tell us about how you went from that particular moment and the work that you did to make the impact you have on the lives of others now.
It started with learning about self-awareness and kind of developing a concept that I am more than just a pinball bouncing around, right?
Okay. Okay.
There, there's a book by a psychologist. It's called a Gentle Path Through the 12 Steps, and his name is
Okay.
Patrick Carnes, and he's a addiction and recovery guy.
Okay.
And I'm not a spiritual guy at all, and definitely not at that point in my life. And so I really
Yeah,
dig
because
into
one
science
of the
stuff.
steps is to let go and give up to a higher power,
Right, right.
right? Even though you can define it, but
Hmm. Yeah, I
if
struggled with that stuff a little bit,
I
but
would imagine, yeah,
there was enough periphery stuff around there that kept me plugged in until I could get my feet underneath me and understand it.
I
And
gotcha.
uh, and this book is one of those things that helped me out because it it's kind of following the concept of the 12 steps, but it's very much a psychology based approach.
Gotcha.
And that
Okay.
kind of stuff makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
I can follow the logic train on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I realized pretty early on that I had never had an iota of self-awareness. I had
Mm.
been very self-absorbed all of my life, but I didn't have any self-awareness, and I didn't probably have any understanding of the difference between the two things.
So did you have siblings growing up?
Yes, I have a sister that's 6 years younger than me, and then a brother that's 11 years.
Okay, so
Um,
really that's almost, I
very
mean,
far apart.
very far apart, especially
Yeah,
in those developmental years.
yeah, yeah. I was
And
the oldest.
okay, you were the oldest. Okay.
Yeah, the oldest always has the roughest time, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for heaven's sakes. And you probably didn't have a lot of tutelage, with models around you to assist you in developing that sense of self and your own innate worthiness of being a part of this thing called the human race,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the early tools in that book was the family tree of trauma and abuse. And
Mm.
and I got to take all of these things that I knew, individual pieces about various members of my family, and put it all together on one piece of paper and realize, that this is way bigger than I ever realized. Like this
Yeah,
this is a generational cycle that everybody in my family has gone through.
yeah, yeah.
Like all the way back. I know my great grandpa was a childhood runaway. He got picked up by someone when he was like 9 or 10 years old. That was a very abusive family that he grew up in. And there's a lot of alcoholics in the family. There's a lot of child abuse and sexual abuse and just
Yeah.
various aspects of dysfunction all throughout my family.
So are
And
you familiar with epigenetics?
I know the term. Tell me more.
Well, it's the fact that, genetics plays at least with my research and studies, about 18% of who we are, and the other is learned behavior.
Okay.
And it's our temperament. It's some of the gifts that we have. The things come easy to us, but others have to work hard at it. The things that were just standard operating equipment when we popped out of the womb. And epigenetics is about the fact that we have in our genes, we also have the traumas
Hmm.
of past lives, not
Okay.
within the family.
Right, right, right.
And it's very interesting because it's easy to believe when you can trace it. It's kind of like little skepticism when you can't.
Yeah.
Um, but it is something that exists, that we all know the genetics of why we have a reptilian brain, and why we get in the fight, flight, freeze to kind of protect us so we continue the species, that we don't die out as a human race. That's all genetic. But more often than not, we don't recognize some of the things that we need to do some work on overcoming
Mm.
because we're not conscious that they exist. And that's kind of like you peeling the onion, and like you said, you started pulling the thread, and pretty
Yeah.
soon you realize that's a pretty darn big sweater. And that could take a lifetime to unravel.
For sure.
But in the process, because there's some people that get so stuck in the unraveling that they're not able to live their life during the process,
Mm.
that their whole focus on is all the dysfunctionalism, all the bad things that happen, and without knowing it, unfortunately, they end up more of a victim than a survivor.
Right,
And
right.
so you were able to have a perspective that allowed you to do the work so that you didn't continue to draw towards you that unworthiness in the other human beings in our world. And to be able to land on, first off, meeting Erica, which had to be another phenomenal moment in your life.
Absolutely.
And then the animal element. So why don't we move forward just a touch and kind of tell us how you were able to put things together enough to the point to be available to someone that you could grow and develop with.
Okay. Well, going through the growth spurts in early sobriety really helped me change my ideas about a lot of things, my belief systems.
Okay.
My mentor in that process helped me understand that most of the things I believed about everything, about life, about people, about what's right and wrong, it was all stuff that I had inherited from my parents.
Okay.
And when I examined those things, I found out I don't actually believe most of them. Um,
Gotcha.
and so,
Gotcha.
so we
Wow.
challenged pretty much everything that I had as my core operating system.
Yeah.
And going through that process really helped me become open-minded to the idea of therapy. And
Okay.
trauma therapy is where I made the giant leaps forward.
Okay.
I went through EMDR, which is a trauma therapy process where you change the emotions that are tied to memories. And
Okay. Okay.
so we revisited a whole lot of childhood experiences. And one of the examples that I use in my book is stacking firewood.
Hmm.
My dad did not drink and smoke and do most of the normal things that people do to deal with their trauma, but he went the workaholic route.
I got you.
And um, I was
So
kind
he
of along for the
basically he wasn't available.
no, like
Okay.
well, he would go work at work all day and then he would come home and work on the house or the car or whatever
Okay.
project that he had going on until midnight. Like he
Gotcha.
felt that if he wasn't sleeping, he should be working
I got you.
and he probably shouldn't be sleeping, right?
Oh,
And that
okay.
is 100% the result of his dad. You know, when I
Yeah.
look at the two of them, I'm like, oh, well, it's obvious. You know, my dad was trying to get the pat on the back from his dad and never got it because his dad was a workaholic.
Wow.
Um,
And with
but
the mirror neurons that we have, that's what you're watching.
right,
You're seeing, modeling, and not knowing any better. Well, I guess that's how you're supposed to operate.
right, yeah, it's passing right on to me.
Yeah.
And which I will say, I inherited a tremendous work ethic as a result of that, but probably not in a
Absolutely.
healthy way, right? You know, my dad's MO was that he would have this big long chores list for me to do
Okay.
when I got home from school, and then when he got home from work, we would go check out all those chores and figure out what all I had done wrong, and then I would get the daily spanking for all of the shortcomings,
Oh,
right?
for heaven's
And
sake.
there was one every day. I never got it all perfect.
So the
And
grandfather that you talked to us about earlier, was that your dad's dad?
yeah, yep,
Okay.
yeah. And
So
he was also a workaholic.
that was his training, your dad's training.
Yeah, and it was his dad that was the childhood runaway. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
like it's fascinating to see how the same traumas get passed down and different people like take it out different ways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you got to deal with it in some way. Like there's going to
Yeah.
be some sort of dysfunctional behavior
Yeah. Or it's
that you
going to take
engage
your
in.
life over. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom went extreme religiosity. My
Yeah.
dad went workaholism. I went
Okay.
alcohol. You know,
Yeah.
you got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
So,
Y'all got good
um,
at real dysfunctional behavior
yeah,
to some
like,
degree.
oh yeah, yeah,
Especially when
it's
it doesn't, I consider dysfunctionalism when it doesn't allow you to bring out the best in others, which doesn't allow you to bring out the best in yourself.
yeah. There was the best of nobody on display in my household.
Right? Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, like it
God,
was.
I want to give you a hug, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I've learned
You're
that it's
welcome.
okay to take hugs from people,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it has taken me a long time to even be able to accept feelings from someone else like that,
I'll
because
bet.
my dad was so anti everything.
Oh,
Like he didn't believe that you display anything other than rage and aggression and
oh,
hostility,
oh, for
right?
heaven's sakes. Yeah.
And I'm a sensitive guy. I'm very
Yeah.
artistic. I had all of these feelings, and my dad appeared to have no feelings, and he punished me for showing my feelings.
Yeah.
Of course, I felt like something was wrong with me, that I'm not the way I'm supposed to be.
And your mom, her coping skills probably was just to allow it to happen.
Oh, well, my mom, I feel bad for my mom. She was in a tough situation
Yeah. Okay.
in a number of ways.
Yeah.
Her trauma was that she had scoliosis when she was a kid, and
Oh.
she had a big metal framework in her back. And her mother wanted a perfect, beautiful little daughter that she could take to sewing circle and show off to her friends. And my mom was not that kid, but her little sister was. And
Oh.
so she rejected her in favor of the little sister.
Oh.
And my mom never got over that.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I think she felt like if she got God's attention, that he would make her feel better about who she was.
Gotcha.
And she
Yeah.
tried 100 billion different ways to get God's attention and just never got there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
But
boy.
my dad and my mom dated all through college. It's where they met. And my at the end of that, when they graduated, my mom ran off to California with some other guy and had me. And then that relationship didn't work out. And then she went back to him with kid in tow. And I'll give him credit. He raised me as his own, but it was
Yeah.
always there as a reminder. I'm the constant reminder that happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my mom,
Not only could you write a book about being a step parent, but you can write a book about being a stepchild
yes,
and
and,
how
and
you never can be good enough.
you can't. And mom is in the middle. Like mom has to be loyal to me. She has to be
Yeah.
loyal to the husband.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and me and
Oh.
him are at odds, and she's trying to play both sides
Oh.
and maintain some level of civility. And when she has no coping skills for anything herself, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was a bad situation for her,
Yeah.
which
Oh
I can
boy.
see in retrospect. I couldn't see it at the time. I hated the fact that sometimes she was my safe place that I could go to for comfort, and other times she would turn around and sell me out to dad. And I could never understand that, right?
Yeah.
But it
Well, and then
eroded
just
any form of trust.
imagine the trust issues that created for you.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't have a safe place to be. Like
No. And so
home
how are you
was
supposed to believe in others?
right. Or
Right?
myself. I couldn't believe in me and I couldn't believe in
Yeah.
anybody else.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Just especially, people in a position of authority over me
yeah.
became,
Oh,
the enemy for me
you bet.
from single digit years.
Yeah, and
When I
we're
was,
taught to respect authority. I mean, we've got all these teachers and we've got all these parents and all these people that are supposed to be mentors and
supposed to know
growers and
better.
developers. Yeah, and sometimes it can be so stifling
Hmm.
that some people can't find their way out of it. And
Well, mom's extreme religious approach to that is that you can never question God, and to question the parents, because it says in the Bible the children obey their parents, and so to question your parents is the same as questioning God, and I would go to hell,
uh,
So,
so
like,
she was a fundamentalist in the Old Testament, it sounds like.
I I don't even
She
know
did,
how you would
she
categorize
didn't
them.
get to the love and forgiveness side.
Right, right. Yeah, I
Uh,
think they used whatever verses met
Worked.
their needs in the moment, is what
Yeah.
that
Well,
was.
isn't that the case with everybody?
It is.
They,
It is.
and I think that the whole, I believe in the innate curiosity we have when we're little and all the whys we ask, and we hope that as parents we don't talk kids out of asking why, because ultimately we get the because I said so, quit
Hmm.
being so annoying. But as we grow up, I always think of adult as adultee, an acronym for adult thinker that you know I know what I know now, and I'm going to run my life that way in spite of what might be happening to everybody else. And I don't want to look at that because what if bad things are happening to others? And so you grow up, what's up, what's down, what's right, what's wrong. I mean, it's an ever-changing landscape, but no matter what you do, it's never right enough.
It's never right.
And so you are, as a courageous human being, got to a point where you run into this woman named Erica. And how come you didn't find reasons why you weren't acceptable to her? Had you done enough work, do you think?
I had been through some therapy. I hadn't got to trauma therapy yet at that
Okay.
point.
Okay.
And so yeah, I still I had come many, many miles from where I started, but deep inside, I still did not accept myself.
Okay.
Um, and I look at at where I was at that point, and it amazes me that Erica saw enough of a diamond in the rough to take a chance on me.
Wow.
Because when I compare where I'm at now to where I was at that point, like
Yeah.
I had a lot of negativity, like I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
because when you don't accept yourself, when you don't love yourself, that impacts everything in your life. And it
Yeah.
impacts your response to everything,
Yeah.
the way you interact with other people, self speak, all the things.
You bet.
And
It
but I
doesn't
think
it
I had made enough positive that she saw something. I don't know.
Well, I think that's where that imposter syndrome comes into play, that if people really knew who we were, we wouldn't be in the position we're in.
Mm,
And it's a human trait. It's not so much a uniqueness and something
right.
to overcome, but it gets back to the fact that, like you said, if you don't love yourself, you're in no danger of loving someone else, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many masks you put on. And I always tell people to love yourself is asking yourself what's the shortest distance between 2 points.
Mm.
And what do you think the answer most people give you is the shortest distance between 2 points, right?
Straight line,
A
baby.
straight line. And the answer is a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And since our brain doesn't know the difference between us telling us or somebody else telling us, our mind does, but our brain is a servo mechanism, which is a robot, and it just accepts literally what it's programmed to think. It's that moment of intervention when we go, you know what? I'm gonna choose to love myself with my strengths and my weaknesses. And then I don't have to constantly walk into a room and ask, how am I doing?
Mm,
I can be in the room and ask myself, how can I contribute?
right.
And that's where you've become. Um, and I'm just fascinated by your story, and I don't want to get to the point where you haven't had a chance to talk a little bit about the work that you do, the veterinarians that you've impacted, and I'd really like you to share what you're most proud of about the impact you've been able to make now in the world, in spite of the lack of positive impact that was made in your world
Yeah.
as you were growing up, if you
Well,
don't mind.
the process that I went through in trauma therapy helped me understand what was really happening in my childhood. And I could look at 7-year-old Justin stacking firewood and then getting a spanking because it's not a perfect stack, and recognize that his dad is trying to get a pat on the back from his dad, and it has nothing to do with 7-year-old Justin, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And all of these different situations that I found myself in, it was the same answer, that there was never anything wrong with me, that I was
Gotcha.
amazing. I did
Yeah.
all of the work I was ever supposed to do. The house was warm. All the projects got done. And I endured a whole lot of BS and kept on going with a positive attitude and kept trying, even though I knew I was always going to fail and get punished.
Yeah.
So when I understood that and processed that in a way that changed my core understanding of who I am, from a loser to a winner, an amazing person who has always done the hardest things and come out the other side, like that changed everything. It changed who I was then. It changed who I am now and how I show up in the world. As you were talking about, you can't love someone else when you don't love yourself. I think there's a whole lot of truth in that, because what I'm requiring in a relationship when I don't have any self-love is that you make me feel okay about who I am, or you make me feel good about who I am, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when I love myself, I don't need that part from you. I can bring something to contribute to the relationship instead of just taking away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is a concept that I can now extend into the workplace.
Beautiful.
I met my wife when I was 38 years old, and she's a doctor. She's got her own practice. She's incredible. Like, she has all this confidence, all the things that I dreamed about. Like, she'd been living it forever. So,
Wow.
I've written a whole series of books about her because I'm so impressed by her as a human being.
Wow.
But she gave me opportunity to grow, and financial resources and time to go do the things that I needed to do to grow into this. And she also gave me a chance to reinvent myself running her business, which is something I had some experience with, and
Sure.
aspects of that, but I had never run a small business before.
Yeah.
But being able to have a workplace with a team of people that I can try to use this new amazing knowledge that I have, that you have the power to change the way you feel about yourself. Like, everybody needs to know about that.
Amen.
That has given me so much motivation to create an amazing culture where everyone has equal footing, equal voice. It's a safe place to be who you are and be human, and to have faults. And you're going to find support and tools for growth rather than reprimand for failure. Like, I try to create everything that I have ever needed in my life and didn't get. And the result of that is a very successful workplace with that. We have kids come from all over the country to do 2-week externships with us on their way to vet school, or if they're already in vet school. We generally have 2 or 3 staff members that are working with us for a year or 2 years to gain experience on their way to vet school. So it gives me opportunity to mentor all of these young people. It's almost entirely women, but to show them what a positive work environment can look like, so that when they go out there and wind up in a bad one, that they don't think that it's all like this, because there's an awful lot of bad ones, right? And when people get burned 3 or 4 times, they stop putting their foot in the fire, and they leave the industry and they go do something else.
Too bad.
And there's not space for that in
And it's
equine
not
medicine.
an easy industry to get into anyway.
No, it's incredibly difficult. Vet school is the hardest professional school to get into.
Yeah.
And you have the highest debt load of anything in the world, I think. It's cheaper to become a human doctor than it is a veterinarian, which is insane to me.
It is.
But I get to teach them.
Let me pause you for a
go
moment,
ahead.
if you don't mind. Based on where we are in time, I wanted to ask you, we've got people that are listening to us right now who I'm sure are being able to relate to everything you're talking about, regardless of their upbringing. You know, it's so difficult to us sometimes to really value who we are. We all know what we become, but very few people know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to help create an environment where people can discover that with the help of yourself and Erica's practice and everything else that's going on. Those that are bit in the crossroads in their lives, and not quite sure which to go left or to go right, and maybe losing a lack of faith in themselves, what would you share with them? And then how do they go about reaching out to you and finding more out about your books and getting more of this wonderful information that you're sharing with us?
I think that the most important thing in the world to know is that if you have a negative perception of who you are, that it's possible to change that. And, I understand that therapy is a scary thing, especially for people. Fear of the unknown keeps us from doing so many things. But when you have no idea what it is, most people never even try to see what they might get out of that, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote a book called The Righteous Rage of a 10-Year-Old Boy, which is a fly on the wall experience, watching me go through a year of trauma therapy and unpacking all of the stuff that we've talked about and figuring out how my system was formed and what the flaws are in that, and then how to change that and rebuild my knowledge of who I am, right?
Beautiful.
And the idea is that it's a proof of concept. It's not gonna help you fix yourself, but it's gonna show you that a professional can help you change the way you feel. And
but it might get them in the position, mindset wise, to seek assistance.
Right. That's the idea, is that you know what a therapy session looks like, and the effort that you're going to have to put into it, and what it is and what it isn't by the time you get to the end of that book. So that's my goal with that, is to take away the unknown part, and which is probably one of the biggest barriers to people getting professional help. So
Gotcha.
But that book and the Adventures of the Horse Doctor's Husband series and my sci-fi series and the How to Become an Equine Veterinarian book that we've got, those are all on my website at jboydlong.com. I've got a blog on there that talks a lot about self-help and self-development and other podcasts that I've been on and all kinds of stuff. It's a good resource.
Beautiful. Well, I wasn't expecting this, and I don't mean that in a that I didn't think that this was going to be great, but it's so revealing when someone is transparent around us who has gone through things that a lot of people don't want to talk about because they think they'll be thought of as less than.
Mm-hmm.
And you've put it into such beautiful perspective that it allows all of us to realize, it's not about perfect childhood. It's about what you do about the situations and circumstances you find yourself in and how you put them in the right perspective so that you can grow from them and almost get to the point where you've got to thank your dad for putting you through that you know, or you
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
be
I
able
get
to
that.
offer what you offer now, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just,
yeah,
which is a
I
big leap.
no, no, I think there's a lot of gratitude to be had because the perspective that I've gained from having been at the extreme sides of things.
Yeah.
I've had so much more perspective. If everything had been great, it would have been straight line down the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much. It's been amazing, and I know a lot of people are going to want to watch and listen to this. Um, so, thank you again, and for all of you out there, thank you for choosing to invest your time, which is so valuable, in listening to Justin and I. And you have the opportunity right now, because wherever you find yourself is exactly where you need to be, and then it's a matter of a choice. And as Justin shared with us, he had that February 17, 2008 experience, and he made the right choice. And we're always going to make a choice, but after we make it, let's ask ourselves, is that getting me the results that I want in my life? And if the answer is no, that's where you seek out. And Justin has got some great insights and books that I believe will really assist you on your journey. So thank you again, Justin, and thank all of you for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you the next time. Take care.